President Bola Tinubu and the Nigerian government allegedly misled both Nigerians and supporters of the United States of Biafra (USB) about plans to extradite Simon Ekpa from Finland to Nigeria during his detention. Simon Ekpa was investigated for over 4 months by Finland's National Bureau of Investigation, NBI, which has now concluded its probe and passed the case to Finnish authorities to determine whether he will be acquitted or imprisoned. Despite public claims that Nigeria was working to extradite Simon Ekpa, the Attorney General of the Federation, Lateef Fagbemi, recently denied that any such legal process was ever initiated. A document dated January 1, 2025, previously shared by the Chief of Defense Staff General Christopher Musa, claimed that extradition papers had been submitted. This has now been debunked as false. The federal government is accused of deliberately creating false narratives to mislead the public and intimidate supporters of Simon Ekpa and the Biafra movement, especially those in foreign countries. On May 6, 2025, Finland's National Bureau of Investigation, NBI, concluded its investigation, and the Nigerian government issued a contradictory press release that denied any extradition efforts, despite months of claiming the opposite. The United State of Biafra's Deputy Prime Minister, Dr. Ngozi Orebwezi, publicly accused specific individuals and governors from the southeastern and south-south regions of Nigeria of collaborating with the federal government to spread misinformation. The alleged goal of this misinformation campaign was to scare Biafra sympathizers around the world into silence by suggesting that Simon Ekpa, a key figure in the Biafra movement, could be extradited and imprisoned in Nigeria. Simon Ekpa was arrested on November 24, 2024, with 4 others, but all of the 4 others, except Simon Ekpa, were released after the investigation found no grounds to hold them. Simon Ekpa remains in custody at Kiilamäkoski Correctional Center in Finland, awaiting trial, while accusations of misinformation and government deception continue to circulate. For many months, a storm of confusion and controversy surrounded the name Simon Ekpa, a Nigerian-Finnish lawyer and activist who has become a central figure in the global Biafra independence movement. Supporters of the United States of Biafra, which is a self-declared group advocating for the independence of southeastern Nigeria, watched closely as Finnish authorities detained Simon Ekpa and launched a 4-month investigation into his activities. During this time, many Nigerians believed their government was working behind the scenes to bring Simon Ekpa back to Nigeria to face justice. Some believed it was just a matter of time before Simon Ekpa would be extradited. The story was covered in newspapers and discussed widely online. But now, in a dramatic twist that has left many feeling misled and angry, the Nigerian government has admitted that it never initiated any formal process to extradite Simon Ekpa from Finland. This revelation has triggered an intense debate not only among political observers and activists, but also among ordinary Nigerians who feel they have been misled. How could a government maintain for months that it was trying to bring a high-profile activist home for prosecution, only to later admit that it had done no such thing? Why would officials feed the public with such a serious and sensitive story, knowing it was untrue? These questions have sparked deep frustration and suspicion, especially among supporters of the Biafra movement, who now believe the Nigerian government used the Simon Ekpa case as a scare tactic to silence them. To fully understand this complicated issue, we need to go back to the beginning and carefully examine what happened over the past year, starting with the arrest of Simon Ekpa in Finland and leading up to the shocking denial of the Nigerian government. We will look at the key players involved, the political tensions surrounding Biafra's independence movement, and the deeper strategy many believe was at play. Simon Ekpa, who lives in Finland but is originally from southeastern Nigeria, has become one of the most vocal advocates for the Biafran independence cause. After the arrest of Nnamdi Kanu, the former leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Simon Ekpa stepped into the spotlight, continuing the separatist campaign from his base in Europe. While his supporters see him as a freedom fighter, calling for the self-determination of the Igbo people and other southeastern groups, Nigerian authorities view him as a threat to national unity, accusing him of inciting violence and spreading separatist propaganda. On November 24, 2024, Simon Ekpa was arrested in Finland, along with 4 other individuals. The Finnish National Bureau of Investigation, which is Finland's main law enforcement body for major crimes, launched a detailed investigation into his activities. The reasons for his arrest were not publicly shared in full, but the Finnish authorities hinted at serious offences, possibly including incitement to violence and international security concerns. The 4 other individuals who were arrested with Simon Ekpa were later released after investigators found no grounds to hold them. However, Simon Ekpa remained in custody at the Kylmäkoski Correctional Center, where he is currently awaiting trial. For months, while the investigation was ongoing, Nigerian media outlets and government officials gave the impression that plans were underway to bring Simon Ekpa back to Nigeria. One of the most striking claims came on January 1, 2025, when General Christopher Musa, the Chief of Defense Staff of Nigeria, publicly declared that extradition papers had been submitted to Finnish authorities. This statement gave many Nigerians the impression that Simon Ekpa's return to Nigeria was imminent. It was also used to reassure those who viewed Simon Ekpa as a threat that the government was taking action. This announcement gained widespread attention. News outlets repeated it. Political commentators discussed it. Supporters of the United States of Biafra were thrown into panic. Many believed that the Finnish authorities were working with the Nigerian government to extradite Simon Ekpa so that he could be prosecuted or possibly imprisoned in Nigeria. These rumors grew stronger over time, creating fear among other Biafran activists and raising concerns about whether international legal systems were being influenced by Nigerian politics. But then came a sudden and surprising announcement from the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation. On May 9, 2025, just days after Finland's National Bureau of Investigation concluded its investigation into Simon Ekpa, Nigeria's Attorney General, Lateef Fagbemi, made a public statement denying that the Nigerian government had ever started extradition proceedings. He claimed that earlier reports had misrepresented his comments and that no legal steps had been taken to bring Simon Ekpa back to Nigeria. This denial sent shockwaves through the public. How could the government go from saying it had submitted extradition documents to denying it ever made any such effort? Was it a communication error, a misunderstanding, or something more deliberate? To answer that question, we must consider what role misinformation might have played. Supporters of the United States of Biafra, including the group's Deputy Prime Minister, Dr. Ngozi Orabueze, have accused the Nigerian government of deliberately spreading false information. They believe the entire extradition story was part of a calculated effort to create fear and confusion among Biafran activists around the world. According to this view, by pretending to be actively pursuing Simon Ekpa's extradition, the government aimed to intimidate his supporters and discourage others from speaking out or joining the movement. Dr. Ngozi Orabueze went even further by naming individuals and governors from Nigeria's southeastern and south-south regions who she claims collaborated with the federal government to spread this misinformation. She accused them of betraying their own people and working to weaken the independence movement from within. According to her, these individuals helped the government create a false narrative that Simon Ekpa was about to be extradited and imprisoned, hoping that this would silence supporters living abroad. If this was indeed the government's strategy, it had a powerful psychological impact. Many supporters of the United States of Biafra living in countries like Finland, the United Kingdom, and the United States became fearful. They worried that even from abroad they could be targeted by the Nigerian government. The thought that Simon Ekpa could be extradited despite being in a European country with strong legal protections made many activists cautious. Some even stopped participating in online discussions or public events. The fear of being arrested or deported was real. But now that the truth is out, many are asking whether the Nigerian government's actions were legal, ethical, or politically wise. If no extradition process was ever initiated, why allow the public to believe otherwise for so long? Why let the Chief of Defense Staff and other officials make statements suggesting that papers had been submitted? And what does this say about the way the Nigerian government handles sensitive issues like separatist movements? Some observers believe the government wanted to appear strong and in control without actually taking any legal risks. Extraditing someone from a country like Finland is not easy. It requires a lot of legal work, cooperation between governments, and strong evidence of criminal wrongdoing. If the Nigerian government knew it did not have enough evidence or could not meet the legal requirements, it might have chosen instead to create the illusion of action. Others think the government wanted to distract attention from other issues. At a time when Nigeria is facing economic difficulties, rising insecurity and political tensions, focusing public attention on Simon Ekpa might have been a way to shift the narrative. By making Simon Ekpa the face of a supposed foreign threat, the government could rally national unity and reduce criticism from the opposition. Regardless of the reasons, the result has been a serious loss of public trust. Many Nigerians now feel they were manipulated. They wonder what else the government might be hiding or misrepresenting. And supporters of the United States of Biafra feel more convinced than ever that their cause is justified. To them, the government's misinformation campaign is further proof that Nigeria is not willing to have an honest conversation about self-determination, justice, or the right to peaceful protest. Simon Ekpa remains in detention in Finland. His legal future is now in the hands of the Finnish justice system, which is known for its independence and strict respect for human rights. The National Bureau of Investigation has submitted its findings to the proper Finnish authorities, and Simon Ekpa will either be acquitted or sentenced based on the evidence. If he is found guilty, he will serve time in Finland. If he is found innocent, he may be released and allowed to continue his activism. Meanwhile, the Nigerian government faces growing criticism at home and abroad. Critics are demanding accountability. They want to know why senior officials were allowed to make public claims that turned out to be false. They want assurances that the government will not use fear and propaganda to silence political opponents. And they want clearer, more transparent communication about how such cases are handled in the future. For the supporters of the United States of Biafra, this entire episode has been a painful reminder of the challenges they face. They are not only battling for independence, but also fighting against misinformation, intimidation, and a lack of trust in official institutions. Yet, many of them remain determined. They believe that the truth is on their side, and that with time, their movement will gain more support, both inside and outside Nigeria. As the story of Simon Ekpa continues to unfold, one thing is clear: the power of truth, transparency, and honest leadership cannot be replaced by propaganda. Governments may succeed in creating temporary confusion, but in the long run, people demand answers. They seek justice, and they remember who told the truth and who did not. In the coming weeks and months, attention will turn to Simon Ekpa's trial in Finland. It will be closely watched, not just by Nigerians, but by the international community. Human rights groups, journalists, and political observers will be paying attention to how the Finnish legal system handles the case, and whether Simon Ekpa is treated fairly. At the same time, Nigeria's leaders will have to deal with the consequences of their mixed messaging. They must rebuild trust, not just with their citizens, but also with international partners who may now view their statements with skepticism. Transparency and honesty will be essential if the Nigerian government wants to avoid similar controversies in the future. For now, the story of Simon Ekpa stands as a powerful example of how misinformation, politics, and international law can collide. It shows the dangers of using fear as a political tool and the importance of always seeking the truth, even in the most complex and emotionally charged situations. Whether you support the Biafra movement or not, the right to honest information is something that every citizen deserves. As Simon Ekpa remains in Kilamäkoski Correctional Center in Finland, his case has started to attract more international scrutiny. More people, especially from the African diaspora, are beginning to ask difficult questions about the role of Western governments in African political conflicts. How did it become possible for someone like Simon Ekpa, who lives far away in Europe, to become such a powerful voice for a separatist movement back in Nigeria? Why is he now the focus of intense legal and political attention? The reason lies in the way technology and activism have evolved. Simon Ekpa, through his broadcasts, publications, and social media campaigns, became one of the loudest voices advocating for the creation of the United States of Biafra. While some see him as a freedom fighter or revolutionary, others see him as a dangerous agitator. This difference in perspective is central to the controversy around his arrest and the confusion over his possible extradition. Now that the National Bureau of Investigation in Finland has completed its investigation and the Finnish legal system is reviewing whether to proceed with formal charges or to release him, the political drama surrounding him has only intensified. The situation has grown beyond just Simon Ekpa. It has become a symbol of how African leaders manage dissent, especially when that dissent is broadcast from abroad. What is particularly troubling to many observers is the fact that for several months, the Nigerian government insisted it was working behind the scenes to have Simon Ekpa extradited to Nigeria. Key officials, such as General Christopher Musa, made public statements that seemed to confirm this. The media, the military, and political allies all appeared to be speaking with one voice. They insisted that Simon Ekpa was on his way back to face trial in Nigeria for his role in what the government described as incitement, violence, and promoting disunity. But suddenly, in early May 2025, the Attorney General of the Federation, Mr. Lateef Fagbemi, contradicted all of that. He clearly stated that the Nigerian government never initiated any formal extradition request. According to his spokesperson, any statements suggesting otherwise were either misunderstood or misrepresented. This contradiction stunned many Nigerians and even shocked some international observers. If the government never submitted documents, then what were all those earlier claims about? Who was telling the truth and who was lying? If supporters of Biafra saw that even someone as visible and well protected as Simon Ekpa could be extradited and jailed, It might discourage others from speaking out. It might make them think twice before funding, promoting, or publicly associating with the cause. That kind of psychological warfare, according to Dr. Ngozi Orabueze, was the true purpose behind the fake extradition story. This is the end of our news update. Please click the icon on the top right corner of your screen to watch my next video. You will enjoy it. I will see you again in my next update. Enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye for now.